Welcome to Athletic Ambitions with me, Fiona Carter.
And me, Tom Barlow.
We are here to share the stories of our Cass and Friends athletes, aspiring Olympians and world champions. We will also interview elite athletes and professionals. They will be sharing their stories, the ups and downs and bumpy ride that their journey may have. We will learn how they persevere and deal with setbacks, train and compete at the highest level, and how their mindset helps with every step of the way. So if you want to hear about our upcoming athletes and learn from the best, this podcast is for you.
This is Athletic Ambitions, where every journey begins with a single step.
So, Adam, thank you so much for coming to have a chat with us this morning. It's just absolutely brilliant that we're able to listen to you and hear from some of your amazing experience. And as you know, we just had a little chat earlier, and I thoroughly enjoyed my long run with the podcast to learn a little bit more about you. So there's so much.
I feel like you know more about me than me now. I think, but no, that's good. We can have a good chat and talk through anything you want really, and hopefully the guys watching this, they might take note of all of it, or maybe just one part might resonate with them. But if anything can help them on their journey, then that's what we're here for. So let's crack on.
All right. Okay. So as you know, the athletes that we support, they're between the age of 12 and 18. So they're beginning to get really, really good at their sport. They're at least county level, some of them regional, national, and when they leave us, they're off international level as well. So that was a really busy time for you between the age of 12 and 18. Can you tell us a little bit more about that and how your sort of sporting career started?
So between 12 and 18, so I actually would have been playing football. So before track and field, before I really took it seriously, I was trying to be a professional footballer. I was at some good clubs. I played at Chelsea Football Club for 8 years. I left when I was 16. Then I was at Reading Football Club. I played at Dagenham and Redbridge. And then when I was 18, that's when I made the transition from football to track and field, to athletics. And literally, I started training full time in January. 6 months later, I was at the Olympics. Like, it just hit me so quickly. There was so much stuff that happened to me that summer of being 18, but that sort of backlog of being from 12 years old to 18 years old was so intense. And it was like being a professional sports person from sort of 12 years old already at a club like Chelsea. I was going into the club 3 or 4 times a week after school, training. You're in that whole elite environment. You get to see the first team. You get to sort of see sort of the start of sports science. Sort of like, it wasn't as prevalent back in the day, but like they still were touching into it. So you could see that sort of side of it. And you go to school and you tell your friends, "Oh, I was at. They do this, they do that," and being in that environment from such a young age, being exposed to sort of that high level of sport has really helped me in the rest of my career, I think. But yeah, it was super busy. I was obviously then playing at my school. I had to play rugby because it's part of being at school. You had to be part of the rugby team and cricket. So every night for me was sport. And I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I tried to do as much as I could.
No, amazing. And so the football was your absolute passion, but your parents decided that it was too much for your education and the football. Is that right?
So I was pretty. It was a decision that at the time was one of the hardest decisions to come to terms with. So I was sort of 16 years old. I'd got offered my scholarship at Chelsea, so your youth, to get into their youth team, basically. Their youth team. And they had asked if I could take 3 days off of school, and it was just about the time that I was finishing up my GCSEs. And my parents were like, "No, are you crazy? You're not doing that. You're not taking 3 days off of school." And I was like, "Well, what do you mean? This is what I've been working the whole time for." And they were like, "Honestly, no. Your education is so important. The conversion rate of people like who drop out of school to try and be a footballer it's so low, Adam. And it's like, we can go try and find another club where you can continue your education." So for them, they've always been education. That's the most important thing. And I back in the day when they did that, like they pulled me out, I was devastated. But looking back on it now, it's probably the best decision. The best thing that they did to me was make sure I get my education. Especially being at the top level of sport now, seeing how quickly the sport career can go past. You need that education to for the rest of your life. Sport is such a small period of your life. It's fantastic, but there's such a big journey to go on after sport. And if you don't have your education, you can never do that. So yeah, when they did it, I pulled a tantrum. I was really crying. I was so upset, trying to imagine explaining to your friends. They're like, oh, what happened? I'm like, my parents pulled me out. They're like, why? Oh, to finish my GCSEs. And everyone's like trying to explain it to friends and different people was horrible. But like I said, looking back on it, it was the best decision that they made for me. I'm so grateful they did that. And yeah, it was a tough one to come to terms with at the time, but yeah, it was the right decision for sure.
I think that's incredibly hard, and really hard for your parents, and really hard for you too. And it's great to hear you say that the education is so important. I'm sure the athletes listening to you will be taking that on board. And actually, funny enough, today a lot of them will have received their GCSE results because it's results day today. So I don't think they will have done as well as you. You've got 15, haven't you? And Japanese as well.
Yeah, I did. Japanese. Yeah, like, I can't really remember. I can only remember a little bit of it. But back, when you're speaking it every day in school, you can your level's pretty good. But yeah, nowadays it's my school was just they offered a lot of GCSEs. I did as many as I could, and ended up with like 15, which is nuts. But whether you do good in them or you don't necessarily do as well as you wanted, it's as long as you try and as long as you've given it your best effort, that's what's important. And GCSEs are important, but actually, like as long as you're able to then go to like university or sixth form or college, and then maybe take that path into university, I think that's the most important thing as well. So it's as long as you've given your best effort, you're okay. So
yeah, I think I said, because my son got his results this morning, so I said, it doesn't matter. People forget about your GCSEs. It's just the next stepping stone. So I'm sure
exactly
they will have everything they need to make that next stepping stone. And nobody asks us about them anymore, do they? So
never, to be honest with you. I've never really talked about my GCSEs apart from if people have done if people look back and they say, oh, you've got this, like they're not that important. But I say they're not that important. They're important at the time. But in the long term sort of effects, it's just a stepping stone to enable you to get to sort of, for me, the goal was at university. So that for me, that was just a stepping stone for me to get to university, which again is why I sort of ended up in this sport, was more the education side of things, really. Yeah.
Cool. Okay. So obviously your parents are a big part of your support network because they really helped you in that sense. Tell us a little bit about who else is in your support network and why they're important.
I've got in my current support network, or growing up sort of between the age of 12 and 18, or
maybe a bit of both. Maybe first of all, when you were a youngster.
So when I was a youngster, obviously my parents and my sister lived my sporting journey with me, really, and you take it for granted because I certainly did, because Dad, I need to be we live in Dartford in Kent, and when I was at Chelsea, we had to train in Cobham. When I trained in Reading, obviously we had to go to Reading, and you just assume like, oh, we need to be in Reading for like 6 o'clock, or we need to be in Chelsea for like 6, and they just do it. They just get you there. They don't have a life anymore. Their life is around you, and you take it for granted as a youngster. But then as you get a bit older, you realize, oh my God, my parents did everything they could for me to give me the best possible opportunities. And my sister as well. Like my sister was always at home, and she'd always support, and she'd miss out on a lot of her stuff because my parents would take me somewhere. And that's something that's super important as well, not to be forgotten, is the people around you. It's not just you that's living it. It's your friends and your family. So for me, I had a really good family and friend network around me that were always supporting me, always doing everything they could to make life easier for me. And I'll always be grateful for having those people in my life. And it's the same people that I have at the sort of level I am now. It's the same people. Yeah. It's the exact same people. Some people will come and go, but the core group is the same. So
Yeah.
That's important to surround yourself with good, down-to-earth people who can keep you humble as well. You need that. When you start seeing success in sport,
Yeah.
it's very, very easy to start believing your own hype, and you get in so many messages of people telling you how great you are. And if you're not careful, you can start to sort of get a bit too big for your boots, and you need your family members and friends around you to tell you, listen, settle down. Like you keep your feet on the floor and continue to be humble and remember where you came from. So having a good group around you of not just people that are yes men is as important as well, and you can start developing those sort of core group of people sort of from that early age, to be honest with you.
Yeah, brilliant. And then tell us then, so then you flipped from the football and you suddenly became the super fast sprinter in 6 months.
I know.
I mean, you
silly, yeah.
Tell us about that little bit of the journey then.
Yeah, so that was around, so I was playing at Dagenham and Redbridge at the time. I was about 17, 18 years old, and Dagenham was in League One at the time, so it wasn't like it was an okay. It was they offered me a professional contract in sort of January, but the pro contract wasn't. I was dabbling in athletics as well, just at this time as well. I did a few different championships. I'd run quite quick, but never really taking it seriously.
Yeah.
And they basically said to me, "Oh, well, we want to sign you as a pro, but if we sign you as a pro, you have to stop all the athletics. And I know you want to." I was planning to go to university, and they were like, "You can't go to university. We're going to need you every day at the club, like training."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Okay." And then what they offered me, it wasn't bad money, but it wasn't like enough for me to completely say, "Do you know what? This is I can be comfortable in this." Like I would have still probably had to have worked, and it just wasn't enough. Like financially. So my parents and we sat down, they were like, "Do you know what? We really want you to go to university. Why don't you try athletics for the year, see how it goes? If it doesn't go well, go back to football. We can find another club. If it does, set yourself up and you can get into university and get your education." So for me, my parents were always on education.
Yeah.
More so my mum, especially. My dad just wanted me to be happy, but it was more so my mum. I left football. I said to Dagenham, "Thank you so much for everything. I've loved being part of your club, but I'm gonna pass." And I met up with an athletics coach in North London, and we started training every day. It was my first time going into sort of a professional environment, training with Jeanette Quatchy was the big athlete in the group at the time. She's doing all the BBC commentary stuff now, but when she was an athlete. And just being in that group, seeing sort of professional track and field was such a different sort of experience than what I'd ever seen before. And I just picked it up super quick. Honestly, there's no other way to say it. I just learned it so quickly, like technically. I didn't really get injured at all my first sort of year. And I just kept winning races. And the more races you win, the faster races you get put into, and you win those races. And eventually you're running against the best British athletes in the Birmingham sort of trials or in the nationals. And then I came second at the nationals, and then they were like, "Oh, congrats, you made the Olympic team." And I was like, "What?" I didn't really realize. I didn't realize, the scale of it. Now I look back at it and I realize how hard I train. I do a 4-year cycle to make the Olympics. Like you put so much time and effort. There's so much of a team effort that goes into it. And I just turned up 6 months later and I was in the team. It was like, that just doesn't happen normally. And for me, like I'm so lucky. I'm so grateful and like very, very fortunate that I got to have that experience at such a young age, like 18 years old, go into a home Olympics. Like that will never happen for me again in my lifetime. So it was, it was something I was so grateful for. And that wouldn't have happened if I had taken that professional contract at Dagenham. So it's like,
yes. So at that point you were like, "Yes, mum and dad, thank you."
Yeah, honestly, like, and then because I did athletics and I was staying in athletics, I could then go to university. So I started university. So I started university at the University of East London 1 month after the Olympic Games, and that was just chaos as well, because obviously coming from a home Olympics, going straight into university, it was just like everyone. It was just nuts, but it was brilliant. I had a great time at university, but it was a very different experience than maybe most would have. So it was cool. It was cool.
Yeah. But, you know, picking up, I mean, I don't know so much about sprinting other than I've coached a couple of sprinters, and it's technical, isn't it? That starting using the blocks to be able to pick that up so fast and to be so good.
It's so technical. I think that event, especially as you get a bit faster and you get to run against the best people in the world and everyone's good. You're standing on the start line and everyone on that start line is talented and really good. And it's what's going to give you those extra 1 or 2% to make yourself better than those guys. And for me, there's different things. It was working on the technical aspect of things, my nutrition, sorting out my sleeping patterns, sorting out my psychology, like all of these little parts, they add 1%, 1%, and you put those together and all of a sudden you're separated from them. So it's like I worked really hard that year on loads of different stuff, but technically, like I said, it is super technical, and sprinting isn't like any other sport. I played football my whole life, really. Some days you turn up, you're like 60, 70%, you're like, you can coast, you're not feeling it, you've got a whole team around you to sort of pass the ball, you can float and you can get away with it. In sprinting or in track and field, you can't do that. In individual sports, if you don't put the work in, no one else is going to put it in for you. Like, you can't cheat the work. So it's that was a big learning curve for me as well. If I like learning that if I don't put the effort in, I don't get better. So it's that was awesome. That was what I do love about track and field as well, is that you're held accountable to yourself, which is I think the way sport should be. So
so talking of marginal gains, 0.003 of a second off a bronze medal. Tell us about that.
So that was in Rio. That was the Olympics in the 200 meters. I was fourth at the in the 200 meters, and I missed a medal by 0.003 of a second. And that was tough to take, really. That really hit me. That took a few months to really sort of comprehend that it'd been and gone. I trained that whole 4-year cycle that I talked about. I trained that whole time for those 20 seconds, and in that 20 seconds, I messed up, and my opportunity was gone. Opportunity was done, and you can never get that time back. I remember sitting on the track afterwards, looking on the scoreboard and seeing the time confirmed, and realizing I hadn't medaled, and just devastated, really devastated. But to be honest with you, I did my most learning from that loss that I've ever done in my career. I think I learned the most. Like, people always say that you learn from your losses, and I didn't really understand that until it happened to me, and I realized the most sort of personal things about myself and my character and who I want to be and how I've got to live and how I've got to sort of train to be the best athlete I can. And that was a big wake-up call for me, because in my career, like coming in from 18, things had always gone well. I'd always run fast, I'd always been competitive, I'd always medaled, make finals, and that was the first time I wasn't successful. Some people say 4th place is, for me, it was medal or bust. Like, that was it. So it was the first time that I realized, do you know what, we've got to do some more of those marginal gains and those 1 and 2%. I started taking my nutrition a lot more seriously, my sleeping a lot more seriously, sort of my recovery, which is super important. And then I realized that track and field isn't just going to the track, training, and then that's it. You never think about it again. Sport, to be at the top level of sport, you have to get into good habits really quickly. So it's how you start living at home, making sure there's no slippages. And that's something that my work with psychologist Steve Peters really helped me a lot. And I know we were talking about it, and you guys do some stuff like that, some sort of similar stuff with the chimp and sabotage and learning to sort of use your chimp to get the best out of yourself. And we did a lot of work, like a lot of work for years and years. And I feel like it made me very mentally tough and mentally resilient. But that all started from that 4th place in Rio, which was, I lost by 0.003 of a second. That's less than, like it's you can blink.
You can't even click your finger or do anything, can you?
Yeah. Yeah.
No, that's mad. And it's we say to young athletes, that's when they learn, and this is the time to develop and grow. But it's so hard to hear, isn't it, at that age, or when you're in that moment. But we're all going to have to listen to you and learn from you. But it is the time you learn, and it is the time that you get better. And those are the situations which we all need to have, because otherwise we wouldn't get any better. So it's good to hear you talk like that and very openly about it.
No, I think I did my most learning, though, from that age of 12 to 18, being in that sort of Chelsea football setup. That's when I did my most learning. That really maybe is why I was able to get into track and field so quickly, being at that elite level from such a young age, getting into the right mindset and mentality. It just helped. It helped. And maybe if I hadn't had that sort of whole past and started doing it from that young age, I might not be where I am. But you don't necessarily need that. But for me, it definitely helped. So if you can start getting into these right habits now, and something like, I'll tell you something that me and Steve worked on straight away, was we didn't even address sport. I started working with him at university, and he was like, right, I want you to get into a good habit of just doing an hour's work every day. I said, what if I haven't got an hour's work to do? He said, I don't care. He said, I just want you to get into a habit of just doing an hour towards something that will make you better every day. Even if you don't want to, do it. So, and then I couldn't do an hour at first. I had to start with 20 minutes every day, 20 minutes. And then I could slowly build that up. But it's just getting into good habits. And he was like, listen, if you can do that off the track, as soon as you get onto the track, you develop that habit of committing to something, and it just helps. So for me, we didn't even really look at sports psychology until maybe a year into what we were doing. It was more about making sure I'm a good person and I have the right values and the right habits, and developing these habits from a young kid sort of will only help. So
yeah, no, we do. So as you know, we do that mindset course with our athletes, and one of them that I've coached recently is a rugby player, and obviously a good sprinter too. And in the middle of the course, it's an 8-week course, I send each one a book. And his book was Atomic Habits, because he needed to just sort of nail a few things that he wanted to just work on. So that was his book. And then another of our athletes, a sprinter as well, she's called Ella Grace Edwards, and on her Power of 10 profile picture, she's got like this massive gorilla, because she really, really liked the Chimp Paradox, and she really sort of wanted to work with her chimp, and it was quite chatty, and now she's really learned to calm it down. Some of the athletes name their chimp. Did you ever name your chimp?
I didn't. I've never named my chimp, but I speak to my chimp quite openly. I think one thing Steve encouraged me to do was really like speak out loud so you can hear yourself. Yeah. And sometimes and talk to my chimp and say, like, if let's say I'm going into training and I've got a really big session to do, speak to my chimp, say, listen, I don't want to hear nothing from you today. I want you to help me. We need to get through this. Like, have a bit of pride about us and help me get through this. When I want to stop, and that time will come where I'm tired, and do you know what? I could just say, oh, do you know what? I'm done for the day, and just stop. I don't want to hear that. I want you to hear, like, listen, other people are training. Help me today. So for me, I never really named it, but I used to talk to my chimp quite a lot. Like, I used to do it in the car because I didn't want to do it like in public, and people, why is Adam talking to himself? But so I used to do it in the car before I used to go into training. But it's important, and sometimes those chimp thoughts as well are so, like, the negative chimp thoughts, like, are so silly when you say them out loud again, like what you're worried about. Say out loud what you're worried about, and as soon as you say it and you hear yourself say it, you're like, what am I talking about? It's just my chimp talking. And you can address those issues really, 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 really fast, really, really quickly, and get into that sort of computer mode of just autopilot and just go, which is what you're trying to do. So I should have maybe named it. I don't know. I don't know what name I could call it. Like, I'm sure if this is my chimp, it's called X, Y, and Z, and I meet someone with that same name, I don't want to have an automatic negative thing.
We've got an Edwin and a Tarquin. An Edwin and definitely a Tarquin.
Tarquin?
So, random names. And
that's random.
Maybe.
Wow. Okay.
So you need to be creative with your naming of the chimp.
Yeah, I think so.
That's funny. So and also you talked about values. So again, values is something we do in the first session with the athletes. We get them to identify what their sort of like core values, and then we kind of flip it on its head and say, right, if I had to take one of those away, which would you live without? So that they really prioritize them, and we get their top 5 or 6. Really, because I think they help them make good decisions. I think you've spoken of your values of family, kindness, and being fast, top 3. Tell us a little bit more about that and why they're important.
Your values are everything, really, who you are as a person. And I remember someone said to me years ago, it's like, what do you want to be remembered for? Once your sporting career is finished, what do you want to be remembered for? Do you want to be remembered as just being someone that ran fast? Or do you want to be a good person who's, when people say, oh, what was Adam like? They don't just say, oh yeah, he was a good athlete. Because that doesn't tell me anything about you. What was Adam like? Do you know what? He was a really kind person. He cared a lot about athletes. He helped a lot of young athletes, and he really loved the sport and did everything. Like, that's the things that I want people to say about me when I finish running. And having values helps you sort of be reminded of that and make sure you stay on task. So for me, having a good family around me, that's one of my values, like looking after my family, spending time with them. I've lived away from home since I was sort of 19 years old. I'm 28, nearly 29. And this is the first period of time that I'm actually going to be able to live at home. So having sort of keeping that contact with my family through all the years, having them close by, involved in my decision making, has been super important. Being a kind person, being someone that cares about other people as well. That's a value that's always been important to me. There's no point of being successful and running fast and being a great athlete if you've got no one to enjoy it with. If you've got no friends and you've just been a horrible person, no one wants to be around you. You've got to be a kind, caring person. And obviously running fast is my job, and I love that. And it doesn't define me, but while I'm in the sport, I want to be the best athlete that I can be, the best version of myself I can be. It might make me the fastest man in the world. It might not. As long as I've given it my best effort, I'm happy with that, and I can't ask for more. So they're my sort of values that I look at every day, and I think, do you know what? That's who I want to be. And so in the dark times, in the happy times, in the sad times, you remind yourself of those values, and it always helps you get back on the path you need to get back on. So it's super important to have values and to remind yourself, write them down. Like I sometimes have my values or my goals for the year on my phone background, which is when I pick up my phone, it's in my face, and then I'm like, oh yeah, cool, right. Just little reminders like that. It's important to have, especially as a young athlete. You sometimes forget quickly, so just have little reminders. Share your values with people, and they can make sure you're held accountable to those values as well. So it's super important.
I think so too. I think it means you can, those difficult decisions that you need to make along the way, if you think, is it in line with my values? Does it feel right? Then I go to bed, I put my head on the pillow, and I feel like I've had a good day. I've made the right decision. Absolutely.
And you can only do your best. And as long as your best is aligned with your values, that's what's important, like you said.
So you're a bit of a stat man, aren't you? You like your numbers and stats and stuff. So the cool one was running the sub 10 being the 100th person to do that.
That is a cool stat to have. I didn't really appreciate it at the time, but I was the 100th man to run the 100 meters in under 10 seconds. So it's something I can always say, to be honest with you. That's pretty cool.
That race was bittersweet though, wasn't it?
Yeah, so I dipped under 10 for the first time. That's what I've been working for a lot of my career. As I dipped, I lost my balance and I landed on my leg and fell over. Bang, hamstring, grade 4. It was like a grade 4C. It was tendon, nearly off. It was one of the worst injuries I've ever had in my career. I still, even to this day, that was 2015. Even to this day, I still get some issues with my hamstring because of that original injury. So imagine going from that high, like sub 10, to literally within half a second falling over, looking up, seeing the clock, and then realizing, do you know what, my hamstring's not good here. They told me I was going to be out for the season. I wasn't going to be able to run fast for a very long time again, if ever. So to go from that high to that low super quick was tough, but that's when you really see what sort of character you have when things aren't good and you're hurt, and it's, am I just going to be lazy and feel sorry for myself and other people feel sorry for me, or am I going to get up and work every single day to make sure this doesn't happen again, so my body's in a better place than it was, doing the really boring stuff every day. You're seeing all your sort of teammates and colleagues and whatever running fast, being successful, and you have to wake up every day and do a TheraBand on your foot and just bring your foot up and down like this, like just the little stuff, and that's when you find out the most about yourself. How much do you really want this as a career? And if you do want this as a career, you'll do it. You'll find a way to get it done. If you don't, then you won't. It's very, very simple. You don't, like, especially in sport, like I said, if you don't put the work in, no one else is going to put it in for you. So
and I'm afraid to say that all our athletes listening at some point will probably have a nasty injury because they're working their bodies really hard. So it's just, you know, sport is not a linear journey, is it? It's always a bumpy ride. You're going forwards and backwards and sideways. So it's just
at that elite level, you're always on. I think the fine line, there's a fine line between fantastic, amazing, world-class performance and injury. Like that, you're always walking that fine line, especially at this top level of the sport. And the likelihood of it is, if you're doing sport as a career, you will have a really bad injury at some point. God forbid you don't, but if you don't, then fantastic. Like, you've been one of the luckiest athletes I've ever met. But if that does happen, prepare yourself for it now. Just get into that's what something me and Steve that do as well. We plan for when things don't go right. So he says, if things don't go right and you've got a plan for it, your chimp then can't come out and sabotage you and right, we've got to do this. That happened, right? We've already got a plan for it. What's the plan? This. So make a plan for it. Like, have a good physio around you, have good people with good advice. Maybe, I don't know, just whatever your plan is, make a plan for it. But do mentally prepare yourself that at some point, if that injury does happen, I think take a day or two to really come to terms with it and impart that and say, right, that's done. No more pity party, no more feeling sorry for myself. What am I going to do to get this better? And work every day until you do. And a lot of my best friends in this sport, for example, Katarina Johnson Thompson's a really, really good friend of mine. She's had so many horrible injuries, and she's always come back and worked her way back. And she's been world champion. She just defended a Commonwealth title. Like, it's once that injury happens, it's what can I do to get back and get stronger? And she's done that. And it's and she's one of many athletes that have done that. So prepare yourself for injury and accept that it's part of the journey.
That's great advice. What about other tech and data? Do you use any tech and data when you're training and stuff like that? Loads.
My sport is all about tech and data. My event, especially, it's like I said, it's won and lost in thousandths of a second. So you can't just use a stopwatch and expect that's it. So we use loads of data. I use a system. I've actually got a company called Prevail, it has like a little little sensor in your it's a piece of clothing that has a sensor in it, and it gives you your sort of heart rate, and it gives you sort of your effort level and how you slept as well. You can do a recovery score, and that really does help me in my training. So I know I'm ready to run. It gives me exact numbers, exact measurements. I use a lot of biomechanics in terms of like timing systems and analysis of step frequency and how long my feet are on the floor and stride length. Like literally, we measure everything. It gets very, very technical, which is sometimes overwhelming. But for my degree, I did sports science and human biology, and I really focused on the biomechanics side of it. So I love that. I love all the numbers. I love seeing where I can get that little 1%. I'm losing 0.1 or 0.5 centimeters on each step, but over 100 meters, that could be half a meter. That could be half. So finding those little gains, that's what I love and I live for. So I love tech. I love that sort of the numbers and the stat side of it, and I think it's brilliant.
And so when you're working with your coach, do you look at the data with him or her? Who is your coach and how do you work together?
So right now I'm sort of I'm moving back home after I've been in Florida for like the last sort of 6 seasons, which has been cool. And the time for me is now to move home, and spend a lot more time at home. And so I'm still working at that. But we have always, with my old coach, we always used to look at the numbers and stuff. To be fair, we didn't look at the numbers during the session as much, really. He wanted me to go off of feeling. Yes. And then after the session, we'd have a debrief, and he'd go, right, these are the numbers. This is where we need to improve. Go away, find a way mentally for you that you think you can go and do that, and go from there, really. So for me, it was I don't like that feedback instantly, because then I start overthinking it. I like just focusing on 1 or 2 cues during my training. Right, what cue do I want today? Right, we're in the blocks. I want to work on getting my first 3 strides forward, as big a stride length as possible, and into the track quick. And if I start thinking, right, I need to put my toe up at this angle, and that's too much to think about, afterwards you can improve that. So especially when you train, and my coach used to give me 1 or 2 cues to focus the whole session, work on that, and get that right. And if it feels good and the numbers match up, then it's done. You know, you can do it. So it's
brilliant.
Yeah,
because we do a little work on mantras and stuff, and if you're winning a marathon, you can talk to yourself in the marathon, but if you're doing your race, you can't. Really.
If you're sprinting and you've got time to talk to yourself, then trust me, you're not running fast enough.
No, it's not happening. But I guess the technical cues, the technical mantras and cues you use in training, then it's when you're racing, then it's just flow, and it's just the subconscious takes over.
It's the autopilot. It's the computer. It's that thing that we talk about, and a lot of the guys, these young guys, won't have experienced it yet. But when they start driving at some point, I always explain it to people, like, it's being in the zone. That's what I call it, being in the zone, where your mind is like absent, and your body's just doing it because you've done it every day. So you've done it every day. Your body is just second nature.
Yeah.
And the way I explained it to people is like, if you're driving a car, so there'll be times if you're driving and you're not even thinking about driving, your body's just doing it, and then all of a sudden, like, you might have driven like 5-10 minutes, and then you just sort of like, oh, don't you really remember doing that drive? And like, that's that sort of autopilot. And it's the same in sport, getting into that mindset of where your mind is just like, you're not even thinking about what you're doing, your body's just doing it. And sprinting is very technical, so you can't be thinking, right, arms up, knees up, chest up, hit, like, you can't be thinking all of that, because if you are thinking that, you're not actually doing it. So you get into that stage of where you've done it so much that it's just natural for your body to do it. And that's when you see your best performances and your fastest runs.
Yeah. You just got to let your body, trust your body knows what to do.
Trust your body. You've done it every day in front at training. Why is it any different now? Why is it any different in front of different people, like in a race or in a competition, in a game? Like, it's not. Just trust your body, and it will happen.
Yeah, 100%. We've got working with a swimmer at the moment. I think he's training for 18 hours a week in the pool, and then his races are 30 seconds. It's like, if you're doing 18 hours a week, then your body knows what to do in those 30 seconds.
It's exactly it. Like, that 30 seconds is, we put the most pressure on ourselves for the race, but actually the race is the easy part.
Yeah.
The race is the part where you can go and enjoy and show people all the hard work that you've done.
Yeah.
But some people put so much pressure on themselves. Races are fantastic, but they're not always going to go well. But that said, that's where you do your most learning, from those races where maybe you didn't do your best. I think no one can really learn anything from winning, because you're just like, oh, I won, I don't need to do anything different. It's when you lose, that's when you take those sort of like bad races and use them for good. Don't just sit on them and be, oh, I'm so angry, and get yourself down. Use them to make yourself a better athlete. And I always say it's okay to do all your learning in those races, but when it comes to the championships, you've done all that learning, that you're ready, and that's when you don't make any mistakes. So
yes,
it's so important to always be learning in this sport. And even myself, every day I learn something new about myself, and every time I race I learn something new, and I've been doing this for a long time now, so it's you never stop.
So some of the athletes will be winning at the national school games this weekend, so hopefully maybe they'll listen to this before they race, and they'll be able to race even faster.
I love the game. I did that when I did that years ago. It was in Gateshead. I only ran the relay. I was only there as part of the relay team, but we won it, and it was brilliant. I had such a good time. Like, enjoy those times, enjoy those experiences, because they are so fun. You're with your friends, you're chilling, you're doing sport, like it's just it's the best period of time. So make sure you enjoy it and actually have fun. It's the most important thing. Have fun.
Yeah.
Because you look back as an older athlete, you think, wow, how much fun was that? Like, it was fantastic.
Oh, that's good. So we talked at the beginning about your daily habits and stuff, and I know one of them is you've got as you mentioned, you've got your goals on your phone as your screensaver, which I think is a brilliant idea. Our athletes also have their goals, and so I think maybe they could take that as an idea to do as well. What other couple of daily habits can you recommend for the athletes to take on board, maybe?
So daily habits, I think obviously for me, it's getting into a routine of like making sure you're going to bed at a certain time. I try not to use my phone after a certain period, unless I've got something on. I try not to use my phone to help me get ready to sleep. So maybe an hour before I want to go to sleep, whatever your bedtime is, try not to use your phone leading up to that time, which is super important. Getting into that regular, like going into bed is for sleep. So I don't like watch any like sort of YouTube or anything, or any Netflix in bed. I don't eat in bed, so my body knows as soon as I go into bed, it's sleep time. So that was a good habit that I sort of had to learn. Waking up, always having sort of breakfast, quite an easy breakfast, it's little things. It's just little things. You get into good habits like that. If let's say for example, I do laundry, let's say I do my washing, not just leaving it sitting in the basket, like hang it up straight away, like fold it, put it away, because as soon as you get up and do it and start, that's the hardest thing, is starting it. As soon as you get up and start, trust me, your body, you'll want to do it, and you'll just get it done super quickly. But if you don't, you're like, do you know what? I just want to sit on the sofa and chill, and just like, I'll do it later. And if you keep having that attitude, I'll do it later, having that mindset is then what you could take that into sport, into your training. I'll do it later. I'll do this. Like, no, just get up and do it straight away. Once you start, just start. So it's little habits like that. Maybe these guys are going to be too young. They don't have to do their laundry yet, but if they can get into good habits, like things like that, helping out, taking the bins out, or like just little things like that, it will translate into your sport, which is super important.
Yeah, I think all the parents listening to this will be like, yeah, nice one. They're on an hour before bed, they're doing their laundry. I'll certainly get my kids to have a little watch of this.
Don't be on Fortnite till 1 a.m. if you're like, just don't like
so bad.
Yeah, like your friends can do that, but they're not trying to be the top level of sports, that 1% of sports people in the country. If they were, they wouldn't be doing this. Like, if you're trying to be that 1%, the top of your game, you've got to start living like the best in the world and get into those habits early.
Yeah, if you can start. Yeah, starting early is great, isn't it?
Yeah.
And what about podcasts, books, resources? I absolutely love podcasts. I listen to them all the time. My family take the mickey out of me because I'm always telling them stories about podcasts that I've listened to. My favourite film is Dawn Wall. I don't know whether you've seen it, but
I've not seen that.
Oh, it's ace. It's with Tommy Caldwell, who's a climber. So it's in Yosemite National Park. It's my favourite film. Eddie the Eagle is also a pretty good film.
Yeah, it's a pretty good one, yeah.
So any good podcast resources, books you can recommend or share?
I started I like reading. So I always used to read as a kid, and I stopped for a little bit, and then I now like reading autobiographies of like not just sports people, but like people that have been successful, just to see where their mind has been at and what their journey has been like. And you'll see that people's journey haven't always just been a straight climb. I just finished, actually, an old training partner of mine, Annika Honora, who's an ex-athlete. I literally just finished her book yesterday, and it's unbelievable, to be honest with you. So for me, it's reading Michael Johnson. His autobiography is fantastic as well. There's just sport, not just sports people, but like autobiographies are what I prefer reading now, just because I can get into the mindset of that person and understand how they were thinking, and if I was in that situation, would I have done something differently, and why I would have done something differently, or why I would have done it the same. So for me, it's they're the types of books that I've been reading. I haven't really listened to any new podcasts recently. I need some good ones. If you've got some recommendations for me, you can throw them my way for sure. But yeah, the reading side is good for me.
Yeah, brilliant. And what about that podcast I listened to when you were doing your podcast, and you interviewed Paula Radcliffe? She was talking very openly about the press and the media and how there were big reactions to her in the Olympics and her performance. So this is going to be something that our athletes are really going to have to tackle, because social media is like there and it's full on, isn't it? Yeah. So what help and advice can you give them on that point?
Yeah, social media can be really dangerous, and especially in the time we live in now. When I was sort of up and coming, it was sort of getting there, but it wasn't. And same with Paula, it wasn't as bad for her. It was more the media and the press. Now, every single person has a phone. Every single person has a Twitter or Instagram. And it's so easy for someone to just go onto your post, comment something negative, put their phone in their pocket and go about the rest of the day and not think about it. And if you go and read that comment, trust me, you could get 50 good comments and one bad comment, and you will always gravitate towards the bad one. Why does that person not like me? So it's finding a way to make your peace with that. And like I said, having a good group, a core group around you of people that, do you know what? These people love me. If there's anything wrong, they'll tell me something's wrong. If not, then why should it matter what X's opinion or this person's opinion or that person's opinion, who are not living it every day? That's a thing that people don't realize. You're living this every day. No one wants to go and do a bad performance. And if you want to do sport as a career, I promise you that is a part that you have to learn to deal with as well, is the media and that having that bad press. It might not happen for you, but more than likely it will, especially in the UK, especially in Britain. The press are so good at building you up and then quickly chopping you down and humbling you. So find a way. Put your phone on silent, or mute the messages so you only see people that you want to see. There's different ways around it. For me, I learned very quickly when I was 18. Myself and another athlete called Danny Talbot, we ran the relay in London 2012, and we messed up the relay. And I've never in all my life, even to this day, we had a lot of good, a lot of people were supporting us, but there was also a lot of people that were really, really hateful and negative. And that's something I had to learn really quickly. And it was a big sort of reality check for me, was that it's so easy for people to just get on their phone and type something horrible. And that sits with me, especially if you take it in and you're like, oh my God, who cares? Who cares? It's like, the way I look at it is it's like some random person coming up to me on the street and telling me how I should sprint. Oh no, you need to sprint like this. But what do you mean? You don't know. I'm the sprinter. I know, I do it every day. So social media is the same as that. So it's very good, but also try and live in the moment as well. And I tell so many young athletes that they do a bad performance and they're straight on their phone quickly. I need to put something out to let people know why. Relax. It doesn't matter. Focus on yourself. And if you want to post something tomorrow or later down when you've had time to relax and you're not chimp, you're not in your chimp mode where you're just sort of emotional and there's no human response to it, just relax. Give yourself 10-15 minutes. Find out what's going on and then use social media for that way. But everything you do, you don't always have to show your best self on social media. Just take a break from it. And I definitely take breaks from social media. And since I started doing that, it's helped me mentally so much. But yeah, for me, I don't care too much about it. Young athletes, I know it's so important now for them to have that presence on social media, which is really tough. I think it should be just about how good your sport performance is. That should be enough. But I know a lot of people want that social media presence as well. So just try and separate it. And life isn't all about social media. Try and live in the moment a little bit. That's really all I can say.
Yeah. Good advice. And what about interviews, press interviews? Any advice around that?
Be yourself. I think the one thing you can always tell is when people are being fake and trying to put on a show or put on to be seen as a certain way. Be yourself. Be honest, but then also keep a little bit. Everyone doesn't need to know everything you're doing. Everything does. I remember one time I I learned that again very quickly. These are all lessons that I've had to learn. Like, I did some training in Florida, and I was running with, I did a block start session with Tyson Gay, who was one of the quickest men. Well, he's one of the quickest men of all time. And I did an interview and I spoke about it. And the next day I went into training, and he pulled me aside, and his coach pulled me aside, and my coach, and said, "What are you doing?" I said, "What do you mean? Why? You don't need to tell people that we were doing blocks together. Like, people don't need to know all your business." So like they said, keep it moving. If you want to say we did some training together, you don't need to go into specifics. Just keep some cards close to your chest. Obviously use the press and enjoy the press and speak to them, but also just be wary that they're doing a job as well. So just you just got to use your own sort of common sense and what to say, what not to say. But yeah, like I said, be yourself. And if you're yourself, no one can say anything, because that's just who you are. So yeah,
and go back to those values we spoke about. So just, you know, speak to them as you would a friend, or using the values and the decisions that you'd take.
Exactly the values. Like I said, everything comes back to your values. That's why it's so important from a young age just to realize what your values are, know what they are, like have them written down somewhere. You don't need to necessarily have them on your phone, have them in your notes or something that you can always go back and refer to. But everything you do comes back to, are they in line with my values? No. Okay. Why am I doing it then? Or is that in line with my values? Yes. Great. Let's carry on. So that's so important.
And do you do anything? Do you have like a big training diary, or do you do gratitude journaling? Do you do anything like that? Or
I used to keep a training diary where I do all my training, and then I also sometimes do, at the end of the week, I reflect on every session I've done and sort of mentally how I feel. And I talked to my coach about it, and I'd say, right, I feel like this worked. This made me really tired mentally. I wasn't feeling that motivated for this. What can we do to work? So I reflect a lot. That's massively important. If you can get into that sort of routine of having that weekly reflection or monthly reflection, or writing down just maybe even a sentence on your phone. You finish your training session, how you feel? Yeah, training felt good. Cool. Wasn't too happy with that. Like just those little reflections you'll look back on, and you can reflect with your coach, make those small adjustments, and it will make a massive difference for sure. So I even to this day, I still definitely do that. I look back and reflect, and we can make changes going on how I feel.
Yeah, brilliant. Oh gosh, you shared so much, Adam.
Yeah, sorry, I was talking a lot. Sorry.
Hours, couldn't we? We could just sort of share lots more stories of training and racing. Anything else you want to say to these young kids out there?
Just have patience, to be honest with you. Patience, and enjoy the journey. Like, you might be the best in your age group right now. You might not be the best. I wasn't always the best growing up. Like, I was always good, but I wasn't necessarily what person I was always winning. Have patience. Everyone's on their own journey. Someone might develop really quickly. Someone might take a lot longer to develop. As long as you're doing everything that you can in your own power to be the best athlete you can be, you'll get where you want to go. I promise you. Have patience. And like I said, this journey goes by so quickly at this level. Enjoy it. I still feel like I'm 18. I blink and I'm like nearly 29. Like, enjoy those moments, so you can look back on your career when you're finished and be like, do you know what? Happy with that. Done. And then do something else. So have patience and have fun. So that's it, really.
Yeah, that's great advice. And didn't Usain Bolt give you that advice?
He said exactly the same thing to me, and he was like, listen, enjoy this journey, because it will go by so quickly. The first thing he said to me was, what are you doing? Why are you in athletics when you were in football? Because he said, I want to be a footballer. So he was like, how did you have the opportunity to do that? And now you're in track and field. What's wrong with you? And he said, listen, enjoy the journey. Don't put too much pressure on yourself, and have fun. And that's one bit of advice he said to me when I was 18. And I've always sort of lived by that, and try and tell young athletes the same advice that he gave me as well. So if it was good enough for Usain Bolt, it's good enough for everyone else. So
exactly. And if you could play for a football team, who would you be playing for?
Liverpool is my team. So right now, to be honest with you, if Liverpool came and they said, right, here you go, Adam, here's a professional contract, I'm not gonna lie to you, it might be really difficult for me to say, all right, see you later, athletics. Like, it's not gonna be too difficult for me to say, yeah, see you later, and thanks very much, but I'll be seeing you at Anfield. You want to hit me up? Yeah, Liverpool is my team, which would be lovely.
That'd be awesome, wouldn't it? If you could just like get one appearance and Just
What
do
about
that.
yourself?
That'd be amazing.
If you could do any other sport, like if you could, what would you want to do?
Are you talking to me?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I'm learning to swim. So
Really?
I do duathlon and I run, and so I'd love to do an Ironman. So I am literally learning to swim. I am pretty rubbish at the moment, I have to say. I can do like breaststroke for hours. I just can't do front crawl. So
is it the breathing?
oh, hideous.
Yeah,
Swallow it.
it's
Goes
tough.
up your nose. Awful.
Yeah, it's tough, man. Swimming is really tough. But Iron Man, you're crazy. Like, no, thank you. Like I said, I'll stick with my 10 and 20 second of work.
I'll be like 10 hours, and that would be
exactly.
Excellent. Oh, well, thank you so much. And it's been really, really lovely to meet you, speak to you. And I was a bit nervous, but you've made me feel nice and calm.
Oh no, that's enough. We're just athletes. We're just normal. Yeah, I'm glad you made it really easy. So thank you so much. It's been awesome.
Pleasure. Well, fantastic. And I say goodbye.
Yeah, see you later.
Thank you, Adam.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Athletic Ambitions. We hope you found this episode of interest, and if so, be sure to send this to your family and friends who might also benefit. If you're interested in donating to Cass and Friends, the links are in the description, and we'll hope to see you in the next episode. Thanks, Tom and Fee.